What if I told you that one of history's most brilliant and feared minds cracked the code on human influence over 500 years ago, and almost nobody is talking about it? Niccolò Machiavelli wasn't just a political strategist. He was a student of human nature at its rawest, most unfiltered level. He watched kings rise and fall. He observed how power was won, lost, and stolen, and buried deep within his writings is a framework so psychologically precise that when you apply it to your relationships, everything changes. But here's what nobody tells you. These principles aren't just for rulers and politicians. They work in every dynamic, including the most intimate ones. Stay with me until the end, because the final principle is the one that ties everything together, and it's the one most men completely ignore. Before we go any further, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel right now. Hit that notification bell. Every single week we go deep into psychology, strategy, and human behavior in ways that most creators are too afraid to touch. You don't want to miss what's coming. Now let's get into it. 1. The foundation, understanding what Machiavelli actually taught. Most people think Machiavelli was about manipulation and cruelty. That's a lazy reading of his work. What Machiavelli was actually obsessed with was perception management and the psychology of desire. In The Prince, he argued that people don't respond to reality. They respond to what they perceive reality to be. This is the cornerstone of everything. When you understand that a woman, like any human being, is navigating the world through layers of perception, emotion, memory, and expectation, you stop trying to change who you are and start learning how to manage the signals you send. Machiavelli said that a leader must be both a lion and a fox, fierce enough to command respect, clever enough to avoid traps. In the context of attraction and relationships, this translates to something powerful. You must be strong enough to make her feel safe, and strategic enough to keep her intrigued. The moment you become fully predictable, you become invisible. The moment you become too chaotic, you become a threat. Machiavelli's genius was in finding the balance and teaching others how to hold it deliberately. 2. The scarcity principle, why availability destroys attraction. Machiavelli wrote extensively about the dangers of giving too much too soon. He warned princes against showering subjects with generosity early, because it sets an expectation that becomes impossible to maintain. Apply this to modern relationships, and the lesson is devastating in its accuracy. When a man makes himself too available, always texting back immediately, always free, always eager, he communicates one thing above all else: low demand. And low demand in the psychology of attraction equals low value. Scarcity isn't about playing games. It's about having a life so full, so purposeful, so genuinely compelling that your time becomes a rare resource. Women are not attracted to men who orbit them. They are attracted to men who have their own gravitational pull. Machiavelli understood that what is rare is treasured, and what is abundant is taken for granted. This is not manipulation. It is the architecture of desire. When you pull back slightly, when you don't respond to every message the moment it arrives, when you have plans that don't involve her, something shifts in her psychology. Curiosity replaces comfort. Pursuit replaces passivity. She begins to wonder what you're doing, who you're with, why you're not as available as you used to be. That wondering is the seed of deeper attraction. Guard your time like it is your most valuable currency, because in the economy of attraction, it absolutely is. 3. The power of controlled vulnerability, Machiavelli's hidden lesson. Here's where most men get it wrong. They interpret Machiavelli's call for strength as a demand for emotional stonewalling. They think that to be powerful is to be cold, closed off, and unreadable. But Machiavelli was far more nuanced than that. He understood that the most effective leaders reveal just enough of themselves to create loyalty, but never so much that they appeared weak or desperate. Controlled vulnerability is one of the most psychologically sophisticated tools in existence. When you share something real, a genuine fear, a past wound, a private dream, at the right moment, it does something remarkable to the dynamic between two people. It creates intimacy without dependency. It signals depth without desperation. The key word is controlled. You don't dump your emotional history on a woman you've known for 3 weeks. You don't text paragraphs about your insecurities at 2 in the morning. Instead, you reveal yourself in layers, slowly, intentionally, like someone slowly opening a door into a room she increasingly wants to explore. This creates a sense of discovery, and human beings are hardwired to value what they had to work to uncover. Machiavelli said that men should reveal themselves strategically. In relationships, that means showing her that there is always more to you than what's on the surface, and trusting the timing of each revelation. 4. Frame control, the invisible architecture of every interaction. Machiavelli was obsessed with the concept of framing, who defines the narrative controls the outcome. In every interaction between two people, there is a frame being set. A frame is essentially the unspoken agreement about what kind of interaction this is, who holds the power, and what the rules are. Most men walk into interactions with no frame at all. They react to whatever frame the woman sets, which means they have already surrendered the most important psychological territory before the conversation even begins. Machiavelli's hack here is brilliantly simple. Decide who you are before she decides for you. Walk into every interaction already knowing your own value. This isn't arrogance, it's identity. When you are firmly grounded in your own frame, you don't get rattled by tests, by silence, by mixed signals, or by moments of coldness. You simply continue being yourself, and that steadiness becomes magnetic because it is so rare. Most men are desperate for approval. They shapeshift, constantly trying to be whatever they think she wants. But Machiavelli knew that shapeshifters are never trusted, because no one knows who they really are. The man with an unshakable frame is the man who is talked about, thought about, and pursued. Hold your frame. It is the foundation of everything else. 5. The art of the strategic withdrawal, making her come to you. Machiavelli described a strategy he called the calculated retreat, where a leader steps back from the battlefield not out of weakness, but to regroup, regain advantage, and force the opposition to overextend themselves. In relationships, the strategic withdrawal is one of the most powerful moves available to any man. When you pull back, not out of anger, not out of pettiness, but calmly and deliberately, you create a psychological vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. People do too. When your presence suddenly decreases, the other person's mind rushes to fill the space you've left. She begins to wonder. She begins to reach. If the connection has real substance, she will initiate. If she doesn't, you've learned something invaluable about where you actually stand. What makes this work is the energy behind it. The strategic withdrawal only works when it comes from a place of genuine abundance, when you are pulling back because you genuinely have other things to focus on, other goals, other people, other sources of meaning in your life. It cannot be faked. Women have extraordinarily sensitive emotional radar. They can tell the difference between a man who is withdrawing from strength and a man who is throwing a quiet tantrum waiting to be noticed. Come from strength, withdraw from fullness, and watch the dynamic shift in your favor. 6. The principle of unpredictability, why patterns kill passion. Machiavelli warned rulers never to become entirely predictable, because predictability is exploitable. Your enemies learn your patterns and use them against you. Your allies take you for granted. The same dynamic is alive in every relationship. Predictability is comfortable. Comfort is the enemy of passion. This doesn't mean you should be chaotic or unreliable in ways that damage trust. It means you should deliberately break your own patterns in small, surprising ways. Take her somewhere she didn't expect. Go quiet when she expects you to talk. Be warmer than usual one evening without explanation. Be slightly more distant another day without hostility. These micro-disruptions keep her nervous system engaged. They prevent the relationship from flattering into routine. They remind her that you are a dynamic human being who cannot be fully predicted or owned. Machiavelli understood that mystery is not about hiding who you are. It is about being genuinely multidimensional. The man who reads widely, thinks deeply, has varied interests, and continues to grow as a person is naturally mysterious because there is always more to discover. Invest in becoming genuinely interesting. Read, travel, build things, pursue skills, develop opinions, not to impress her, but because a man committed to his own growth is endlessly compelling. Predictability fades when you are too busy evolving to repeat yourself. 7. Silence as a weapon, the most underrated power move. Machiavelli wrote that the wise man speaks when it is advantageous to speak, and stays silent when silence serves him better. He observed that most men give away their power through unnecessary words. They over-explain. They justify. They fill silence with nervous chatter. They send the follow-up text when no response came. Every unnecessary word is a small leak in your psychological power. Silence, on the other hand, is commanding. When you learn to sit with silence, in person, in conversation, in text exchanges, you communicate confidence in a way that words never can. The man who does not feel the need to fill every silence, defend every decision, or explain every action is the man who seems most certain of himself. And certainty is deeply attractive. There is a specific kind of silence that is especially powerful. The silence after she says something provocative, testing, or even slightly disrespectful. Instead of reacting immediately, pause. Hold the moment. Let the silence do the work of communicating that you are not rattled, not desperate, and not going to reward that behavior with an emotional reaction. That calm, measured non-reaction is often more powerful than anything you could say. Practice silence. Let it become your default. Speak with intention, not compulsion. In a world full of noise and oversharing, the quiet man with depth is the most interesting man in the room. 8. Emotional mastery. The king's most guarded secret. Machiavelli's ultimate insight, the one that separates the prince from the peasant, is emotional mastery. He observed that rulers who were controlled by their own emotions were always eventually destroyed by them. The man who can be made angry on command, who can be made jealous with a glance, who can be made desperate with a little cold shoulder, that man is not free. He is owned by his own reactions. Emotional mastery is not emotional suppression. It is not pretending to feel nothing. It is the ability to feel deeply and still choose your response. It is the ability to notice the jealousy, the anxiety, the frustration, and not let it drive the car. This is perhaps the deepest and most transformative of all Machiavelli's principles. Because when you achieve genuine emotional mastery, you become nearly impossible to manipulate. Tests stop working on you. Hot and cold behavior stops working on you. Jealousy games stop working on you. And paradoxically, when a woman realizes she cannot destabilize you, she becomes more attracted to you, not less. Because what she is actually testing for, underneath all the surface behavior, is whether you are truly solid. Whether you are the kind of man who can hold himself together when things get hard. Whether you are a safe place for her to land. Emotional mastery communicates all of that without a single word. It is the crown that no one can see, but everyone can feel. 9. The long game. Why patience is the ultimate power. Here is where most modern men fail catastrophically. They want results immediately. They want the connection, the commitment, the response, the validation. Now. And this hunger for immediacy destroys more potential relationships than almost anything else. Machiavelli was a long-game thinker above all else. He studied how empires were built across generations. He understood that the greatest rewards go to those who can hold a vision over time without flinching. In the context of attraction and relationships, playing the long game means prioritizing your own development over chasing short-term validation. It means building a life so compelling that the right women are naturally drawn into your orbit. It means being willing to let a connection breathe, to give it space to develop organically, rather than forcing a premature conclusion out of anxiety. The man who plays the long game is not passive. He is deeply active, but his activity is directed toward himself, his purpose, his growth. He is not sitting by the phone. He is building something. He is becoming someone. And that becoming is what makes him magnetic. Women want men who are going somewhere, not because of materialism, but because forward momentum is one of the most attractive qualities a human being can possess. Move forward, build, grow. Let the attraction follow. 10. Putting it all together, the Machiavellian blueprint. So let's bring it all together, because this is the part most people never reach, and this is why you were told to stay until the end. Machiavelli's hack to influence and attract is not a trick. It is not a script. It is not a pickup line or a manipulation tactic that works for a week before collapsing. It is an entire philosophy of becoming. Be scarce. Not because you are playing games, but because your life is genuinely full. Practice control vulnerability. Reveal yourself in layers, at the right moments, to create discovery rather than desperation. Hold your frame. Know who you are before anyone else gets a vote. Use strategic withdrawal. Step back from strength, not pain. Break your patterns. Be multidimensional, unpredictable in the best sense of the word. Master silence. Speak with intention, not compulsion. Achieve emotional mastery. Feel everything. Be controlled by nothing. Play the long game. Build, grow, become. When you integrate all of these principles, something profound happens. You stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop wondering why it isn't working. Because the man who embodies these qualities doesn't have to chase, he attracts. He becomes a presence that people want to be around, that women think about, that nobody can quite forget. That is Machiavelli's real secret. Not manipulation, not control. Transformation, the kind that starts from the inside and radiates outward until the entire world around you responds differently. If this opened your mind to something today, subscribe to the channel right now and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Every week we go deeper into psychology, power, and the principles that actually move the needle in real life. The next video is going to go even further.